Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to put together a short little recap video of the new interview with Ross Coulhart on Reality Check from the other day. It is just mind blowing the amount of experiences this gentleman has had. I definitely highly recommend that you check out the full interview. Link is in the description below. Also, make sure you like, subscribe. It really helps the channel spread the word about our crazy reality. This gentleman is Yoshua Shelton. He is a military veteran. He worked at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. That is a nuclear base. And we always hear about all of this activity happening, particularly at these nuclear bases. This is going back decades, and it just seems like more and more information just keeps coming out. I really commend Joshua for stepping forward, sharing his stories. He doesn't have to do this. He says that he's just, feeling more emboldened to come out. And I do feel like the stigma is lifting. More and more military veterans are coming out and sharing their experiences, and I really applaud them. He was actually connected to Ross, I believe, through Ryan Graves. So, again, Mr. Graves, thank you so much for all you do. And then definitely go and check out the full link to hear all the details because he really does go into such great detail. Let's hear what he has to say.
I remember looking over to the fence line, and at the specific MSZ that the alarm had been called on, there was a bright white light that was hovering right over the third fence line, so the innermost fence line. And it appeared from our point of view to be just right over the top, right on the top of the fence. There's a sensor that runs along the top, and it appeared to be right on top of that. I can't really describe any physicalities to it because the light was so bright.
Do you
But what
think it
was
was
really
solid?
I've wrestled with that. I mean, you couldn't see through it, but what was very anomalous about it was that it wasn't really illuminating the desert around it the way that you would expect a light to be doing. It was almost like it was self-contained. Um,
So it was self-illuminating from within.
yeah, and yet somehow it was able to control the light it was giving out so that it didn't illuminate the desert around it the way you would expect such a bright light to do. It was, if I remember right, it was a whitish color. That's the color that's kind of stuck in my head is this whitish color. And what was peculiar about what it did was as soon as Whiskey 8 seemed to, the responding patrol, as they're driving up along the perimeter, it was almost like it was monitoring our radios because as soon as Whiskey 8 called it in, it started matching the vehicle speed to maintain an exact distance between itself and the vehicle.
So you're quite confident it's intelligently controlled. It's not a balloon that's bumped up against the fence. This is an object that's being intelligently controlled.
Absolutely, it had intent. It was not flying with the wind, and it specifically chose to follow the fence line, almost if it was riding it on rails until it got to a certain point, and then it made a choice to go in a different direction.
Wow. Um, that had to be something to experience during, your first really intro into your military career. I can't even imagine what that would be like. Like that was him just starting off. So that's pretty wild. Now he went on to explain that there were three other vehicles, at least eight other people involved that witnessed this encounter. So there are other people out there who can corroborate this. Again, the stigma is starting to lift, and I think more and more people will continue to come out. We've gotten so many other witnesses just in the last few weeks since the September hearings, and I think that even more people will come. Okay, let's take a look at this second encounter that he describes. It was a disc shaped craft that seemed to fly overhead and crash. Holy smokes. Take a listen.
of the other patrols was there, so it was a total of 6 people outside. And I remember that the guy that I'm facing, we're talking, joking about something, and he kind of looks up above my head and his eyes just go wide. And as soon as that happens, I kind of turn my head to look over my shoulder. And as I'm turning my head, I see this reddish glow that kind of approaches on the ground. And I crank my head up just in time to spot this. I mean, I hate to say it, but it was a classic flying disc shaped object. I don't think that it was physically on fire. It was almost like this, almost like magma type glow was wrapped around the front of it, and that was what was illuminating the ground underneath it. But it was flying maybe 200 to 300 feet above our heads, very low. And as it approached and came over us, it actually deadened sound wherever it moved. Like the natural sounds of like the building right next to us, the desert, other patrols in the distance, they got very faint, almost like when you stick your head underwater.
Okay, look, this is wild. All right. So he says that he saw some sort of dish shaped craft fly overhead and crash. Other people witnessed this. All right. He goes on to explain that it was probably about 45 to 50 feet across and flying about at the speed of a Black Hawk. That's just wild. I can't even imagine witnessing that. And now for this next one, it is another kind of light encounter. And I can't even give this one credit with some short clips. I'm going to try and do my best, but the way everything that comes together about this encounter, the way he describes it, like you really just need to have a full listen for yourself. But here's a little sneak peek at least.
Um, those patrols knew where we were roughly because I had shown my Pac 4 laser towards them, and you can see it on the night vision. So they didn't have eyes on us, but they knew roughly where we were situated. Um, so we get a radio call from one of the patrols that's providing overwatch from the interior, and they say, "Hey, Oscar One, be advised, you've got a light at your 12 o'clock." And they described this kind of bright light. They couldn't really tell if it was up in the air or on the ground because they just didn't have a good point of view for that. So if it was up in the air, it would have been very low. Definitely wouldn't have been high up in the air. Um, we looked, I mean, 12 o'clock right in front of you, we look and we can't see anything. Like I said, flat desert, no cover, no concealment. We've got night vision, a lighter 800 meters away. You're going to see a lighter with that night vision. We see nothing. We look to the dog, whose job is to indicate. The dog's not indicating, so the dog's not getting anything either. So we sit and we wait and we listen. You use your ears more than your eyes when you're in the desert at night. And a few minutes after that, another patrol comes on the radio and says, "Hey, Oscar One, be advised. Now you've got a light." It was either our 3 or our 9 o'clock, so either our left or our right. And this was alarming because it feels like we're getting hemmed in now. A third patrol calls over the radio and they sound pretty alarmed and they say, "Hey, you have a light at your, it's either 9 or 3, depending on which one the first one was." And that meant we were almost completely hemmed in by these lights, which felt very threatening to us. And within 30 to 40 seconds of that last light being called in, one of the original patrols calls over the radio and they're very alarmed and they shout. I can remember them shouting, "The lights are rushing you." So when I talk to people afterwards, from their point of view, they all agreed with this. These 3 lights showed up, one in front, one to the right, one to the left of us. And then, as if on cue, all 3 lights rushed exactly to our position where we were at. We did find out that we basically had lost about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes of time. We,
Wow. And did it
we
feel like that long length of time?
no, no. And that was basically after we were there for 10 minutes. I tried the radio. I tried a radio check when I realized, wait, no, nothing's transmitting. We couldn't get through on the radios, so I made the call. Let's go back to the perimeter and make visual contact with the patrols on the inside, thinking our radios were fried or something. When we got, it was almost like we crossed a line, an invisible line. And as soon as you cross this line, all three of our radios started transmitting again. We started hearing people on the inside transmitting.
And were they freaking out that you weren't responding?
Yes, everyone was looking for us, and that's also what I can't explain, because we were in a kind of, from their point of view, our original position was kind of hidden to where they couldn't really see us. They knew where we were at. But once we left that position, it was flat desert. There's just no feasible way that patrols using night vision with high ground wouldn't have seen us walking. And nobody spotted us until we got close to where we had stopped our vehicles at.
And there we have it. All right. Very strange, of course. And again, listen to the full video for all the crazy details. We're talking about lost time, equipment malfunction. I really, really hope that some of his other colleagues will eventually come forward and corroborate these stories, because they are just wild. But it gets even more wild. So, in this next example that he provides, he goes into the shadowy figures. And I think he said something about having encountered these shadowy figures at least a dozen times. Multiple people have witnessed this with him. They engage these shadowy figures. There's a multitude of residual evidence that's left behind, such as heat signatures on the ground, um, movement, obviously, in the dirt. People will chase after these shadowy figures with him. They see them, he sees them. They're getting heat signatures on their fancy infrared equipment, but then you can't see anything in person. It's absolutely wild. Here's a little snippet, give you a taste of it.
This figure would have been, from where I was standing, a good 40 meters away, which is relatively close. And it's pacing back and forth on the top of the roof at the front.
And how do
So
you see it? Because you told me earlier that you had to shine a light on it. So this
Mhm.
is in darkness. How do you know it was there? What did you actually see?
So it was solid black figure, and you could see it very clearly because the entire perimeter is lit up, and when the clouds are low, it throws that light up, and you can see it silhouetted up against that light. It was not hazy. It was not. It was very clearly seen.
Humanoid?
Humanoid. I mean, we assumed it was our flight chief. We were so confident it was our flight chief that
Was
we
it
started
clothed?
calling to him. I would have estimated to be about 6 feet.
Right. So it's standard
I'm very confident in that.
tall male human height.
Mhm.
Did it look like it had the build of a male or a female?
Impossible to tell, but I mean, we assumed it was our flight chief. It was 16 of us. 16 of us, because we were all sitting there and we were calling to the figure, thinking it was our flight chief. And then when it wasn't responding, I took a spotlight from one of the other members, and then I turned it on. And as I cranked it up to the building, as soon as the light hit the legs, that's when it just disappeared.
And when you say it disappeared, it literally physically disappeared.
Hmm. It was there one moment, gone the next.
I mean, come on, that's just wild, right? But it's also so fascinating. He goes on to explain about this stigma and coming forward, that he's held on to this for so many years. He didn't want to talk about it out of fear of losing his career. This is what people actually feel like, folks. But the stigma is thinning, okay? More and more people are coming out. He talks about an incident where a colonel visited, and he discussed these strange incidents with the colonel. And the colonel just gave him a little, and that was it. That was it. You tell the colonel that you're seeing these shadowy figures and having all these wild experiences, and the colonel, that's all he does, just, okay, that's it. He also goes on to explain that there were animal mutilations that he witnessed. And Ross explains that there was another person's account of shadowy beings that they've encountered. So it's a really great interview, folks. Definitely check out the full thing below. Spread the word. I really appreciate you spending this time with me today. And again, if you've enjoyed the content, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, share on your social media. It's quick and free, and it really helps the algorithm for the channel, as well as spread the word about our crazy reality. And make sure to check out my other videos if you haven't already, so you can catch up and be better informed. Thank you again. Sending good vibes to you all. Enjoy the journey.